dreams. We're all born with them. Dreams of adventure, of finding a sense of purpose, meaning, of reaching our full potential. And wherever your dreams take you, your journey starts with UAC.
I'm Oscar Adams. I'm currently at the University of Technology, Sydney, studying a Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Laws. For the business component of my degree, I major in finance.
Hi guys, my name is Camille and I'm a fourth year student at UTS. So I study a Bachelor of Business, and I did say I'm in my fourth year. I do know it's a 3-year course, but I actually transferred into this course. So I will be taking a little bit longer. I'm still waiting to go on exchange, as well as I'm doing a human resource management major. For anyone who doesn't know what a HR major is, it's basically looking at, hiring people, writing up contracts, making sure your employees get paid, and making sure everyone's happy at work. So really fun stuff. And that's what I study at UTS.
Hi, I'm Veronica, and I'm studying a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Laws at the University of Sydney, and I major in media studies.
Well, it was a really, really tough decision, and there was a lot of things that went into it. Talking with family, friends. I found my career advisor at school to be incredibly helpful, to be able to sort of look not only at what I would be doing at uni and what I was studying, but also sort of what that would translate out into the job market, which is a very important consideration because, of course, we're going to uni to prepare ourselves to move off into a particular field. So, it was really, really helpful to have some people who've sort of been there and done that across a variety of fields that could point out things that weren't really so clear necessarily to an 18-year-old that's leaving school. I also looked at myself, what I enjoyed, what I knew that I enjoyed, and what I would have passion for as I continued to study it at the higher level at university. Like for me, in the HSC, I was a big essay writer. And so everyone was saying, law makes perfect sense. And yeah, it turned out that's exactly right. I love studying law. Business was a little bit different. I took a bit of a risk there, to be honest with you. I did no maths at all at high school. And that's one of the reasons I ended up at UTS. They had no prerequisites for any of their courses, more or less. So I was able to come and study business there without having studied maths. And it turns out that I loved it. So that was very fortunate, yeah.
So when I was towards the end of my high school time, I was really confused. I went through like 10 different career paths. When I was in year 10, when we were picking our subjects for year 11 and 12, I was determined that I was going to be a doctor. I wanted to go to medical school. So I chose all the sciences, bio, chem, extension math, extension English. I just wanted to make sure that, I had every single base covered. And then in year 11, I realized that I was really struggling in English and I really didn't like math. But I was just kind of looking at my career choices, and then I realized that I was really interested in my subject, geography. So when I realized I liked geography, I kind of wanted to go into something kind of environmental. So I thought maybe environmental engineering. So then I focused on maybe I want to be an engineer. And then towards the end of my year 12 experience, I realized that I didn't like math at all. And I really didn't want to do math in university. So I then just kind of decided to focus on the environment side. And then I ended up going into a Bachelor of Global Studies, which is basically like a fancy geography degree at UTS. We don't actually offer that course anymore, which is really sad. And then as part of that initial course that I did, so I started studying at UTS and I started studying the Bachelor of Global Studies at UTS. And then I was doing some business electives and I really enjoyed the business courses. I was talking to people in my business class, and then I was like, okay, I think I really want to do a business degree. Let me move over. So I went and I transferred, and now I'm in my Bachelor of Business, and hopefully we'll finish this Bachelor of Business soon.
I chose my degree because I knew the areas that I wanted to go into, but I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to do it. So after researching the structure of media degrees and law degrees at a couple of different universities, I found that I really enjoyed the way that it was structured at the University of Sydney. So that was my goal. But when I received my marks, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get in there straight away. So I was trying to figure out a new pathway that I could take. And for me, that was starting in a Bachelor of Arts and Advanced Studies. and doing a major that let me do some of the first year units that I would have done if I had got into the degree, so that I could use that as credit when I transferred.
I did quite a lot of research into the different degrees, the career outcomes of those degrees, as well as the universities that were offering them. Something that I spent a lot of time doing was going through the course handbooks in a fair bit of detail for each course at the different universities. Speaking, for instance, like with the UTS ones, they really broke down the specifics of the degree in a way that you don't get from the more general overviews on websites and things like that. So it would really take you through the career outcomes, everything you'll be studying. And I found that sort of allowed me to get a deeper insight into what the student experience would be like studying at this university, doing this particular degree. So yeah, I spent a fair bit of time doing that. And then as I said previously, sort of talking about each degree, each university with people that have been there, sort of people in the year above me at school. I was able to ask how they were going as they had transitioned from school into university. So I was able to sort of get insights regarding the different universities from people that were currently studying there. But yeah, definitely it was something that took up a lot of time at the end of the year in year 12 to sort of figure out across the different things, because I was worried about whether the degree I was choosing was the right one, whether the university I was choosing was the right one. And so yeah, a fair bit of time went into both of those categories.
So when I was in year 12, I did a lot of research. I knew I wanted to do something in the environment, towards environment, sustainability, geography. But that's a really kind of niche area. I mean, everyone knows that a lot of universities have engineering courses, business courses, science courses, medical science. Those are really popular kind of courses to undertake at a university. And I wanted to do something that wasn't popular. So I was looking into interstate courses. I was looking at maybe going to Monash or maybe having to go to Queensland. And like I had a lot of different options there. So I had to do a lot of different research in terms of what courses are best for me, where can I do these really interesting courses, and if I have to move interstate, what am I going to do? I actually ended up deciding to go to the UTS Open Day. And when I went to the Open Day, we had to register beforehand. And you kind of sign up to the different talks you want to attend and the different workshops. And in that list, I saw something that said global studies. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. I haven't actually seen this before. It does sound like something that I'm interested in. I thought it might be something similar to, international studies. I really wanted to learn a language at that point in time. And then I was like, okay, let me go have a look, see what it's about, and we'll take it from there. So I went to the UTS Open Day. I sat in the talk about the Bachelor of Global Studies, and everything that I heard was great. They were talking about all the different exchange opportunities, the languages that I can choose to learn, all the different subjects, and it really kind of spoke to me. And I was like, you know what, this is something that I want to do. And then I heard that it had a really low ATAR. I think the ATAR at the time was like 71. And I really wanted to go to UTS. And as you might hear earlier in the video, I really wanted to do engineering and environmental engineering at UTS. And one thing that really stressed me out was the high ATAR. And when I saw that this degree that was really interesting, had everything that I wanted in a course, also had a low ATAR, I was like, I'm sold. Say less. Like, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I can definitely get a 70 ATAR. And I did apply for some other admission schemes as well that I knew could help me boost my selection rank. So yeah, I was like, that's it. That's the course that I want to get into. And I just focused on getting into that course. That's all that I thought of from that point onwards.
I tried to research quite a bit before I chose my degree. Part of it was figuring out which structure of the degree worked for me and which kind of units I was really interested in. And that led a lot of my initial research. But I found that once I had my marks and I knew whether I was going to be having a competitive chance of entering these courses, that I did a lot more research about what other options there were to do similar degrees or majors that might give me access to some of the units, but not all of them. For me, this research was a mix between attending open days, looking at any handbooks that I could find online to see the information about the degrees, as well as I found that at open days, if you asked the questions to the people about what you wanted to do, sometimes they knew things that didn't quite appear to be that way on a handbook or online, or you just had to know it in order to find that information. And that was how I was able to choose my major for first year, because there's a major called digital cultures that gives you half of the media units, and that was quite helpful for me.
So our careers advisor organised sort of whole year trips for each of the open days, which is good, like where we got to go onto campus throughout the year. But then the open days themselves, 100%. We went around, me and a group of friends went down and went to all of them when they were on, just so you could get a little bit of a chance to speak to current students and that sort of thing, which was really, really helpful, as well as just having a look around the campus. Because at the end of the day, like, you don't really get many opportunities to just do that. So it's really good to get a vibe for the place that you don't necessarily get just from, looking online and things like that.
I didn't really want to be studying anywhere else. So I only went to the UTS Open Day. My friends met me in Central for lunch, and then we kind of branched off. I think that was the right decision to make, because I spent the whole day there. I got to visit a whole bunch of different faculties. I talked to so many student ambassadors, and it was really worth it.
I went to quite a few open days, but they were mainly towards the end of year 12. I definitely was aware of open days before then and had the option, but I found myself quite busy. So it was quite helpful to have that chance during year 12. It's definitely a good thing to make time for, because you get to talk to often people who are doing the degree or who are teaching the degree, so they can answer questions that you might have that you can't find the answers for otherwise, or that you're just struggling to get that piece of information that might make it all make sense. It's also really helpful if you kind of know a vague area that you might be interested in, but you're not sure like what different options are within that. They often have talks or like seminars where you can listen to people talk about different things that you could do under a faculty or within a school at university.
It wasn't too confusing. The idea of accepting an offer, even if it wasn't the offer that you wanted to take, and then keeping it there and making sure you had your highest eligible preference at all times. It was confusing at first, but then the more you look into it, and especially look, like, your careers advisor is such a great resource. I found that after a little bit of conversation, a little bit of reading, it seemed fairly straightforward.
So when I transferred courses, I first went to like the university website, and I kind of Googled, so how do I transfer courses at UTS? I didn't really know where to start. And there's something that's called an internal course transfer. And that means that UTS will kind of run the transfer for you. And I looked at it, and I basically selected what course I was into and what I was currently studying. And then I kind of selected the course that I was interested in moving into. And then that kind of transfer didn't really match up for an internal course transfer. So because I couldn't then go and transfer internally, I actually had to put in an external request of transfer. And that's via UAC. So the same way that you guys put in your preferences and you are going to put in your preferences for year 12, I was in my second year of uni, and I put in that I want to study a Bachelor of Business. And I waited for the offer round, and I had my fingers crossed, and I got an offer to study. So once I got my offer to study, I accepted it. Because I was already studying at UTS, it was really easy. Like, it just automatically acknowledged that I was already a UTS student. I just had to put in like my student information. And then I had to transfer all my credits over, which was, I think, the hardest part about the whole process. Picking the preferences, all of that UX stuff was really easy. Now that I have everything sorted, I just kind of had to do the paperwork for UTS to kind of make sure that everything that I studied in my global studies degree kind of gets moved over to my Bachelor of Business, because I didn't want to waste too much time. I didn't want to do everything from the beginning. I've already done some of the business subjects, and I had some of my geography subjects that I wanted to use as electives. So again, I didn't want to waste any time. So once I did that, I went to the student center, told them, hey, look, this is what's happening. They gave me a form to fill out. I filled out the form, waited a couple of weeks, and then everything was set up. So I went into the next year with all of my credits transferred over, and I was ready to start my brand new business degree. So I found applying to uni really simple. I went to Auburn Girls, and we had a really great careers advisor that really talked us through what to expect beforehand. So we knew the ins and outs of how preferences worked. We knew how we could be strategic with our preferences. She taught us how to play the game and collect all the offers that we can. We had all the information that we needed well before we even set the HSC. So We were really well prepared in that regard. And then with my application process, not only was I putting in my preferences, I also applied for some of the different admission schemes that we have through UAC. So I ended up applying for the educational access scheme as well as the school recommendation scheme as part of the educational access scheme, which was really, really good. And they really helped get me into university, to be quite honest. So with the educational access scheme and the school recommendation scheme, my school actually did a lot of it for me. I didn't have to do much. All I had to do when I was applying to putting my preferences was kind of put in my application for SRS saying that I was interested in the school recommendation scheme. And then my school did everything else. They put in the rating for me. All that administration stuff was the school's responsibility. So it was really easy, really simple. I didn't have to submit a lot of documentation, and any documentation that I had to submit, my careers advisor helped me out with it. So it was pretty simple. Putting in your preferences is pretty seamless. You get emails. When you get offers, you get emails when the deadlines are up. And as long as you're kind of checking the dates, it's quite easy to go ahead and get all that application stuff out of the way. Once I got my offer, I enrolled, and then everything else was history.
I think that the application process wasn't too complicated. For me, the complicated part was just figuring out when everything happens. And once you had those dates and once you knew when early entry offers might happen or when you need to have things solidified by, that definitely helped to make it clear. I think the most challenging part for me during the application process was making sure that I had my order of preferences correct. And one thing that really helped me was making sure that if I wasn't quite sure which degree I was certain on, to make my last preference something that I definitely wanted to do and that I knew that I could get into, so that I could come out of first round feeling comfortable that I knew I had something that I enjoyed and that I wanted to do, but I could still put something that might be a bit more challenging just to see if I did get that option or not.
I really had no idea, to be honest with you. Like, I was looking back at the transition from primary school to high school thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to go from being, the classic, the big fish in a small pond to the small fish in a big pond. Well, university is the biggest pond there is, speaking in terms of, educational institutions, but it's just so different that you're really unprepared for it until you show up there. Like, just the idea that your teacher doesn't care if you're in class or not, it's your own responsibility to be there. If you don't submit an assignment, that's on you. No one else cares. No one's chasing you for it. And those were things that, especially from the school I came from, I really had no concept of that whatsoever. So I was quite unprepared for it in terms of not knowing what to expect. But then once you get there and you start showing up to classes and you're getting involved in extracurricular sides of university life, all your clubs, your societies, different competitions, things like that, you meet people, you meet like-minded people, which is fantastic. And it's probably the best time of your life when you're young, at least so far. Yeah.
I thought uni was going to be really stressful, actually. I had a really hard time in year 12, specifically dealing with the really increased workload. I had expectations to be studying outside of class. And I was someone who really liked to learn in class. I like to sit in the classroom and really absorb what my teacher was telling me, rather than having to kind of sit in class with the teacher brushing over something quickly and then going home and studying it. I didn't like self-study at all in high school. I really wanted to grasp the concepts and I wanted the teacher to teach me. I didn't really like having to relearn things at home if I didn't really get it the first time. I wanted to get it the first time. So at university, I was really stressed because a lot of the teachers in high school tell you that once you go to uni, you're all by yourself. And I was like, I'm going to be all by myself. I'm going to have to write essays all the time. I'm going to have no free time. How am I going to work? Like, what kind of job am I going to be able to work? These are all things that I was really stressed about. But university is and ended up being really incredible. I was able to work throughout my whole degree. And I've been working at the Commonwealth Bank the whole time. The tutors are really accommodating. They give you so much content and help and things that you need to study. They give you lectures. You have tutorials to come in and ask for extra help. There's one-on-one tutoring sessions that you can get by the university as well. So there are so many different avenues to kind of learn the content that you need, as well as kind of studying with each other, that I found university really, really easy to transition to. I was really scared and I didn't think that was going to be an easy transition, and I thought I was going to struggle a lot, but it ended up being a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Before starting uni, I wasn't sure about like the practicalities of how it would work or a lot of what actually happens there. I think that all I really knew was it was an opportunity to explore more of what you were interested in, and gain skills and prepare for future opportunities. But I wasn't really sure about like the day-to-day of uni, like what would actually happen once I had started my degree.
As someone that's watched the entire Suits series on Netflix, I had a very clear idea of what I thought law was going to be. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily just like the TV show, but it is still in line with what you would expect if you had, for instance, researched throughout your senior years at high school. You know the basic areas of law, and that's exactly what you are studying before you go on and specialize. With business, that did surprise me a little bit just because of how broad it is, right? So in your first year, you know, studying things like accounting, economics, and statistics, all the way through to marketing and management, I really hadn't, especially not having studied business studies in high school, really didn't have a clear idea of just how broad it was and the different sort of knowledge and skills that I would need to be applying across the breadth of that degree. That certainly did catch me by surprise a little bit. But once I was used to that and expected it throughout my second year more so, I thought it was fantastic. And to be getting experiences in such a diverse range of areas just throughout the normal course of studying, I thought that's incredibly valuable. And that's one of the reasons that I love my business degree so much.
Again, I thought uni was going to be very scary. I thought it was going to be really hard and I was going to be studying all the time. University ended up being really easy to balance life, working and studying. There's a really good social life at UTS. I was also obviously doing the studying that I needed to be doing, and I was able to work. So I really had that work-life balance that I was stressed about. With everything transitioning because of COVID, we actually fell back onto online learning a lot, and I discovered that I really liked online learning. And the online learning was a lot easier for me. I didn't have to stress about, missing my train in the morning. I knew that I was always going to be at class on time. And then I had extra time to kind of prepare for things, whereas I'd usually be picking an outfit and fixing my makeup and running to the train station. So I really love having the extra time because I can just sit there in my room an hour before class starts and kind of go through the readings again. Maybe watch the last 10 minutes of the lecture that I was kind of falling asleep in the night before and all that good stuff. So university has been a lot different than what I expected. It's a lot better than what you guys are worrying about. There's really, it's fun. I mean, there's ups and downs to university. There's times and there's going to be maybe a week or two in your whole university career where you have 10 things due. You're going to have maybe 2 exams, an essay, a group assignment, and everything falls in that 1 week. And that's going to be one of the worst weeks of your university experience. But there's so many other fun things that kind of balance it. So there's ups and downs, and all in all, it's been great. And I wouldn't have traded this university experience for the world.
I think I was most surprised by the structure. So I remember at the start, having really big cohorts where you knew very few people, and when you were in lectures or tutorials, it didn't really feel like the same people were popping up. So you didn't have that kind of oh, I've seen that person in this other class moment. But I know that was partially for me because I had a degree at the start that had a bigger cohort, and that some degrees will have smaller cohorts. But as I've moved through my degree, it has become more of a way that you do recognize people who are learning alongside you and you see them in your classes. And I think that really helps to make it feel a little bit less alone when you're tackling all the work. You know that there are lots of other people who are doing it alongside you.
Splitting it into both business and law. With business, throughout the first year, you do a little bit of everything, right, across a very broad range of subject areas that fall under business. So that's things like marketing, management, accounting, economics. So quite broad at the start. And then once you picked your major, you get a little bit more specific and you're able to have a lot more control over what you want to be studying. So for me with finance, I'm able to pick from a pool of subjects that really cater towards where I want to work if I go into that field, and the things that interest me there. On the law side of things, it is pretty much the first couple of years of your degree, you're doing all the standard law subjects, all the things that you'd expect every solicitor in Australia to know. So that's things like your criminal law and things of that nature. And then once you've gotten all those standard subjects out of the way, the ones that everyone has to do, you have a lot more freedom to move on and specialize in areas of the law that interest you. So I found that incredibly valuable. That's one of the things I love about studying law, is it's such a broad area that it allows you to really pick and choose the areas that interest you the most, and then sort of really narrow down on them so that you have more expertise in those areas if you do want to go on and practice in those areas.
I'm doing a Bachelor of Business with a HR major at the moment. So the kind of subjects you study depends on the kind of avenues that you pick. So when you pick a really big degree, like a business degree or an engineering degree, you have to pick a major. And a major is something that you focus on. So I do a HR major as part of my business degree. So I have to first do my specific business units. So those are things that are like accounting, finance, management. So you do all different general business topics, because as a business student, even though I want to focus on HR, we want to have good foundations in all the different kinds of aspects of business, just in case you change your mind once you're working. So you have to do those preliminary business units first, and then you get to move on to your major. And that's when you kind of really specialize in the area that you're interested in. So that could be accounting, that could be finance, that could be marketing. I mean, I obviously chose HR. So in this section, in second year, I essentially got to focus on my major and building all those skills to be a really, really good HR professional. And then the last bit of your degree, it's kind of freestyle. So it really depends on what you do, because the business degree is so flexible. You choose if you want to do some electives, you can do exchange like I'm going to do, you can do a second major as well. So you can really kind of focus it on what you're interested in and what kind of best suits your personality, and also what suits your career goals.
Under my law degree, I have studied a variety of core units. So the way that the law degree at the University of Sydney is organised is that in your first 3 years, you have some core units that you do, and then you do a full year of law and then elective units. So far I've done a variety of core units across different kind of areas of the law. So everything from torts and contracts through to public international law. Each of these units kind of focuses on a specific area of the law, dealing with any leading cases, legislation, and issues that might be within that area. I study these alongside my media units, which have been a mix of practical and theory units to deal with different kinds of mediums, as well as different issues and styles that might be present within the area.
Uni life, it's hard to talk about this in the context of COVID, of course. It's been a little bit unfortunate that we have lost a year and a half now out of my 3 years at uni. I've been there for half of it. But look, it's fantastic. Uni life, it's all about getting out there, trying new things, because of course you're there to learn, and what you're doing in the classroom and around that sort of curricular side of things is very, very important. Equally important is the extracurriculars, right? The things that you're doing just because you want to do them, and they offer you some sort of fulfillment or enjoyment outside of the classroom. So for sure, from my own experience, that's been fantastic. And that's been a big part of my uni experience, getting involved in societies, going out, doing competitions, things like that. It really allows you to meet a really broad range of people that you may not interact with otherwise. Say, for instance, people from other degrees that you're not just bumping into in class and things like that. So certainly it's a little bit mixed. Everyone's still doing the best that they can online while we are restrained to this, both in terms of class and in terms of extracurricular things being run. So you still have those opportunities. But of course, we're all really looking forward to being able to get back to doing these things face to face. So my university experience so far overall is incredibly positive. It's incredibly enjoyable at the end of the day, right? Because you're learning, you're meeting new people, you're doing fun things, and it's only going to get better.
So university has been really fun. There are a couple of different things that I really like about UTS, and these are also the reasons why I chose UTS and I really wanted to go to UTS. I really wanted to join the dance society. And I will be hopefully president of that said dance society next year. So we really come full circle, which is really interesting. The societies at UTS are really, really fun. So we have like the food society. If you like K-pop, there's a K-pop society, a society for dogs where they bring dogs on campus. So many fun stuff that's happening when you're on campus all the time. So there's always something fun to do. You'll see on Facebook that there's an event happening and that one of the societies is running something, and you and your friends get to go and have fun. What's really good about UTS is also there's a lot of good places to eat. I feel like a lot of people don't think of that when they think of like where to choose the university, but I love the fact that we're in the city. There's really good yum cha places. There's always bubble tea around the corner. We have all the good fast food, Macca's, KFC, and that kind of stuff is really vital. You wouldn't make the connection usually, but having good food on campus is essential to having a good time at university, because while you're studying, while you're spending those all-nighters working on assignments, you're going to need snacks, you're going to need drinks, you're going to need maybe energy drinks, you're going to need things to sustain you, to keep you motivated, to keep you occupied, and to keep you happy on campus. And we have plenty of good food. We have a brand new food court with like Mad Max, Cha Time, all of that stuff. Also, UTS has a lot of great study areas around. So you don't have to always be studying in the library. We have really cool study areas in all of our different buildings. I'm a business student, so I do study a lot in the business building. So it's kind of fun to find cool little places for you and your friends to hang out. Me and my friends in first year had like a specific hangout spot. So we'd always meet there in between our classes, and people would leave to go to classes, and we'd always just be in that specific place all the time, like 5 days a week. The security guards were so sick of us. But there are also a lot of events on campus. So all the societies run first year camps. There's a lot of opportunities to attend different parties on campus. We do have 2 bars on campus. So we do have a lot of fun once you turn 18. So there's opportunities to do that as well. But there's a lot of different fun ways where you can meet other students. You can do the things that you love on campus. So we have things like a gym, physiotherapist, a doctor, a counselor. Like there's just so many different things you can do on campus. We have a cinema across the road. Like there's just so many fun things that really makes campus life a lot of fun.
So far in my degree, I've had I think it was a year and a bit of in-person uni, and then it was online uni, and then it was in-person uni for a bit, and then we were back to online uni. So I've had a bit of a mix of both. Studying in person definitely has its benefits, and it really provides like a connection that is a lot harder to make online. But I do think that I've had a lot of online classes that have worked really hard, and I've had some amazing teachers who made these online classes as good, sometimes even better than the way that I've had in-person classes. You kind of quickly figure out how to survive / get through both, and figuring out what you need to do to kind of exist in this blended space, because it seems like that's what will keep happening. So there is an increased flexibility with online uni and having like uploaded lectures that you can schedule in. But sometimes it is really nice to just have that like eye contact with the person in front of you who's teaching, rather than having to deal with the map of screens on Zoom, or realizing that you might know someone from Zoom, but they don't know you. So it's been a mix, but it's been pretty good so far.
Really, my favorite part, or the part that's brought me the most enjoyment out of uni so far, has just been the sheer amount of opportunities that are open to you as a university student, both being able to go into the classroom and learning about things that are interesting to you and that you're passionate about. That is an absolutely fantastic opportunity, as well as on the extracurricular and social side of things, being able to join clubs and societies and do things that are fun and enjoyable, and meet new people and go out and socialize with them. That's fantastic also. So for me, I would have to say that the best part about uni so far has just been the amount of opportunities that it's really brought to me, the amount of doors that it's opened, both in and out of the classroom.
So the best part of being at uni is the freedom. You get freedom to study at your own pace. You get the freedom to spend your free time the way you want. You get a lot of freedom from your parents. because they know that you're going to uni. And that freedom is really liberating. You're in charge of what you do. You're in charge of when you hang out with your friends. You're in charge of, your class timetable and when you go to class. And having that freedom to kind of choose really kind of improves your quality of life. You're a lot happier. If you're not a morning person, you don't have to wake up early in the morning anymore. You can choose all of your classes to be in the afternoon or night. The freedom to obviously hang out with your friends. You don't have to be home right after school at 3 o'clock. And there's a lot of freedom at university that really makes it really liberating. Sometimes, a lot of freedom is kind of daunting, and probably in your first couple of weeks of uni, you're going to be like, what do I do? Okay, I'm at uni, I have 3 hours. What am I going to do in these 3 hours? Like, I have nothing to do. But you really learn how to make the most of your freedom. So it's definitely the best part of uni life.
I think the best part about being a uni student is choice. I think it's choice because even if you are busy and even if you can't really pick your units or you're doing all of these core units, you've chosen to be there. And I think that that's a really big driver in terms of being able to motivate yourself to do things. Like, you've picked this path, you're picking what you want to do, and you have this ability to choose that I don't think you get before uni. And you choose how you spend your time, who you're going to spend it with, what you're going to do. And that might seem daunting, but I think it's actually quite nice when you are able to pick things that you like and things that you want to do.
So I haven't had any thoughts about changing my course, to be honest with you. How I'm even here in the first place is very fortunate. I didn't do business studies. I didn't do legal studies. I didn't do mathematics. I did pretty much nothing in high school relevant to what I'm studying now. I'm just very fortunate that I came, I tried, and I've loved it. So I've really had no reason to swap.
So I started at UTS in a Bachelor of Global Studies. And I was doing a lot of different things in that Global Studies degree. So I was doing my geography subject. I ended up doing Chinese, which was really interesting for a bit. And I also did some business subjects as part of my electives. And when I was studying the business subjects, I was really enjoying them. In my Global Studies degree, it was a really small cohort. And all of the people that were in all of my classes, I already knew from orientation. There was only about 60 of us, so we knew each other. And I loved going to the business classes and meeting new people. I was able to talk to them about things. We had a lot in common because I worked at Commonwealth Bank, and I was starting to think my global studies degree might not lead me to the career that I really want in the future. I was working at the bank and I was like, okay, maybe corporate life is not that bad. I have a lot of connections already. I'm thriving already, and I might want to pursue this. And then when I was looking at the kind of job opportunities that I had as part of the global studies degree, it wasn't really clear. Basically, with a global studies degree, they said that you could apply to whatever you want. You could apply to NGOs, you could apply to different companies, you can use your electives to work as an accountant if you want. It was really broad, and I didn't like the fact that it was so broad because that just placed a lot of stress on myself to kind of search and find where I kind of fit in all of these different career options. So I made the decision to transfer into my business degree, being that I was able to kind of focus on working in a company and undertaking a specific role in a company. And I looked at the different roles, and I did not like math. So accounting, finance, statistics, those were already out of the door. I could not do them, and I couldn't pursue them in university. So I looked at the more interesting ones like marketing, tourism, management, and then I looked at HR management. And then what made me choose the HR major is a little bit of it's a bit of an irrelevant story. But I remember as soon as I graduated HSC, me and all my friends wanted a job because we had a couple of months now of freedom to kind of do whatever we wanted, and we wanted to work, make some money, go on holidays, live it up. So I remember I basically wrote everyone in my friends group resumes. I applied to jobs for everyone so we could try and work together, hopefully. I prepared everyone for the interviews. And when I really liked that, I really found interviews fun where all my friends who didn't like it, None of my friends liked going to interviews. They hated the job application process. And I really enjoyed it and I did well. I ended up getting like 4 job offers by the end of that application period. And by the end of those like 2 weeks up HSC. So I was like, this is something that I'm good at. And I always remembered that I was good at it because my friends would always come to me for help with their resumes or with job applications or with interviews and stuff like that. So when I decided I wanted to go into business degree, I already knew that I had strengths in that sort of realm. And I wanted to kind of move that and manifest that into my business degree. And obviously there was a perfect major for me, which is HR management. And basically human resource management, they're the team that work in any big company. They hire people, they write up contracts, they help any employees that are having a hard time at work, and all of that stuff. And I didn't want to work in a job where I had to face customers. I feel like human resource management really suited me because I was a people person. I would love to work with employees that already work in the company to make everyone happier. It was a really positive kind of experience and it was kind of a positive role to be in within a company. And I felt like that really fit where I was at. So when I studied a human resource management major.
So I started in a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Advanced Studies at the University of Sydney in my first year. I was majoring in digital cultures and ancient history. I chose digital cultures because it gave you access to some of the media units. And I chose ancient history because that had been a real area of interest for me during high school. But when I entered this degree, I knew that I wanted to try and transfer because I knew that I wanted to get into the arts law combination degree. For me, that meant working very hard during first year to get the marks that I needed so that my uni marks would be counted instead of my ATAR when it came to transferring. And then that meant at the end of first year, I was able to apply for a transfer within the university and then transfer in at the beginning of my second year to joining the arts law combined degree. The University of Sydney actually has a really good plan of the units that you need to do for law and how you can rearrange them if you transfer in second year. And that was really helpful in figuring out like how my degree would actually work. And I've been able to do enough units either by doing an additional unit a semester or by doing intensive units that I should be able to complete my degree as if I had started in it first year. I don't think I've had thoughts of changing it. I've definitely had moments where I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? This is a really hard choice, but I put myself here and now I have to deal with it. But I think most of those times it's just because, or at least for me, there's a lot going on, or I have a lot of assessments in a couple of weeks. And if I can work through that moment, I've come back to realize the things that I am really enjoying about my degree and the reasons that I chose it. So I haven't seriously, since transferring, thought about changing my degree.
My hopes and dreams when I finish my degree, ideally, is to get a job and move on and work in a field that I'm passionate about and that's rewarding for me in terms of being challenging and stimulating every day when I'm in the workplace. Certainly, that's a long way off at this point in time. And there's a lot of things that I need to do between now and then. But ultimately, yeah, for me, long term is getting a job in my field, first figuring out exactly where my interest lies such that I can go and pursue that. But I've got another 2 years or so to do that. And then, yeah, moving on, working in that career for a while. After that, who knows? It can take us anywhere. But certainly for me, coming out of university, I'm just looking at moving into a job.
So after university, I've thought about it and I have a couple of different things that I want to do. I don't know how it'll manifest. My original plan was obviously to graduate with great marks and get a really, really good job. Maybe in the industry that I'm in already, maybe find a really interesting company that I can work for and do HR in that company. I've actually, as of recently, really discovered a passion in ceramics. So I'm also kind of tossing up between, you know, pursuing arts and using my business degree and all the skills that I've learned in my business degree to kind of push myself to open up my own business. And I also obviously want to go on exchange. And potentially, if exchange goes really well, I might look to pursue working overseas in companies overseas, either doing like relationship management or continuing to do HR and maybe international global recruiting. So a couple of different options. One is kind of like following my path as a business student. One is really like pursuing art, which is really weird. But we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of keeping all my options open right now. I'm going to apply and try and do everything, and then just see where I come up successful.
I'm not really sure yet. I know that I really want to try journalism. It's been something that I've been really interested in pretty much for as long as I can remember. I'm not sure if that will happen. Every semester that I do at uni, I discover new things that I like and that I'm like, oh, I had no idea that this is what people do or that this was even an option. So I'm really just trying to take it as it comes, plan for a semester or two at a time and try and just, try as many things as I can and figure out what I enjoy and what I want to keep working with.
At the end of the day, the main message that I would want to send out about that to students is don't do the thing that you think you have to do because there's prestige or money related to it, because oftentimes there's these stereotypes out about these areas where you're going to get paid a lot of money or you're going to have a lot of prestige when there really isn't. At the end of the day, the most beneficial thing you can be doing in year 12 is asking yourself where your passions are, where your interests are, and what's going to be fulfilling for you throughout the rest of your life, because it is a really big decision deciding what degree you want to do, where you want to specialize. And there are a lot of implications for that. So don't do it for superficial reasons. Please, do it because it's where your interests are, do it because it's where your passions are. And ultimately that's what's going to sort of give you the most benefits throughout the rest of your life.
I think my biggest final tip for anyone in year 11 and year 12 wanting to go to any uni, not just UTS, is to really play strategic with your preferences. Make sure your number one preference is the course you want to do the most, regardless of what the ATAR is, because at the end of the day, you might not know exactly what your selection rank is, especially if you've applied for, other things like SRS, EAS, bonus points. Every university is a bit different. So you never know exactly what your selection rank is going in. And selection ranks change within the university as well. So put your first preference as the degree you want to study the most, no matter what, even if the ATAR seems crazy and you don't think you're going to get it at all, because you never know. I just wanted to get into university. I didn't care what I studied. I just wanted to go to UTS. So as you know, I started in a Bachelor of Global Studies. And I was very, very happy. I was like, you know what, I'm at UTS, that's it. I just want to pick my subjects. And then if I change my mind later, I'll transfer. I didn't really want to pursue going for the business degree. That was a good 10 to 15 ATAR points more than what Global Studies was. But after I actually started at university, I realized that when I added all the bonus points that I got from the Educational Access Scheme, plus SRS, plus the subjects, I would have been able to make it straight into business. So had I considered it a little bit more, and then had I really thought about it and put my preferences based on what I wanted to do and my sort of dream lineup, I probably would have saved a lot of time, a lot of money, and I probably would have been done with my degree now. But, everyone's journey is different. So just always pick what you want to do the most, no matter what. Don't let anything discourage you because things always change. And yeah, fingers crossed. Good luck, guys.
I'm not sure that I would have believed myself, but I would say figure out where you want to be, and then you can figure out your way into what you want to do. When I was picking my degree, I think I was overwhelmed by the options of choice. So figuring out where you want to start and just picking the next decision, I think that's what I would focus on. I think you're told a lot that there are a lot of different pathways into things and that you can figure it out and that there's all of these different ways to do these degrees now. But it's really hard to feel like you just need to pick where you're going to start. And if you stay in that degree, that's amazing. If you're going to transfer, that's amazing. If you completely decide that there's something else you want to do, that's great too. And I think it's just pick the next thing at a time. Don't worry if this is the entirely best decision in every different circumstance. If it feels right for you, trust yourself and do what you think is a great place to start. And if you stay there, that's great. And if you don't, you've got all these options to try.
UAC represents many institutions across New South Wales and the ACT. The universities featured in today's webinar are a small selection of the many institutions which offer the courses discussed today. Students should research all university offerings so they can make informed decisions regarding their future study.